Hey, what is going on, guys? JVT Gaming here, and it's been a while since I've uploaded to either of my channels, but I've actually been enjoying Hogwarts Legacy quite a bit, so I wanted to do a little review video on this game. So in this video, it's going to kind of cover the first 24 hours of gameplay and my experience in the game, just as far as pros, cons, and all the things. For the most part, it's going to be pros because I really love this game, and they've kind of gone above and beyond when it comes to the main things as far as the gameplay goes, and then the little things to make the game even better. I'm going to try and make this spoiler free as possible and just kind of introduce you guys into the gameplay and the certain mechanics within the game when it comes to exploring the world, different types of mission sets, and kind of how the overall progression works. So starting off, the first thing I have to say, this game is just a really fresh breath of air when it comes to new releases that we've seen, post maybe 2020. I just feel like we've gotten very accustomed to games being released and not finished, or not even being anywhere close to finished. Hogwarts Legacy just feels the total opposite. It kind of brings me back to the days where, you purchase a really good game, it's loaded with content, there's no emphasis on other sources of monetary value in the game like microtransactions. It's just a really solid game with the attention to details, which I think with it all put together just makes this game fantastic. I think for many of us too, when talking about the overall graphics, the art style, I think in our minds, we've all maybe to a point have thought the Harry Potter art style and lore was kind of neat, and it'd be cool if that was executed in a large open world game. Well, this is it, and it is very well executed. The graphics are really stunning as far as the colors go, the details of the assets, and there's overall a lot of different assets when you go from environment to environment. A lot of times when you get larger open world games like this, you tend to see a lot of repeat assets, but this game is very unique where you see a lot of different structures and different objects all around the map, which is pretty neat. The colors and reflections and everything that goes into the overall graphics is absolutely beautiful, especially when emphasizing on the environment, especially in the Hogwarts area, in and outside of the castle. It makes it for an even more desirable place to explore. The overall map and POIs is just enormous in my opinion. Hogwarts is enormous to explore. There's still areas of it that I have just now explored with being 24 hours into the game. And there are quite a few locked areas that you don't get to access until later into the game, which actually I don't think I've been able to access any of them yet. And it's loaded with different types of loot, puzzles, secret doors, you name it. There's a lot in here to explore, and you can just spend hours exploring Hogwarts itself. Then another main POI is probably going to be Hogsmeade, where most of your different types of shops, your potion shops, your wand shop, the broom shop, pretty much all of that's going to be in there. And there's a lot of different areas you can explore in there, different loot, and a lot of missions will also take place in here as well. You can sell items. There's just quite a bit that it's offered here and not within the castle. And then outside of those two POIs, there's just a extremely vast land where there's different types of maybe abandoned ruins, castles, the Merlin trials, which are kind of puzzles that you'll find scattered throughout the map, and also many enemies and side quests to encounter as well. And transitioning from kind of the overall, graphics, the overall world like we just discussed, transitioning from that, I think one of the main things I like about this game is it really plays at a pace that you're comfortable with, or the pace you want to play at. So you could be a player that kind of wants to get through the main storyline and just play those missions. And obviously there are prerequisites for certain missions. You have to be either a certain level or have certain spell charms. But overall, you can kind of play at the pace you want to play at. So if you want to just jump into the story missions and just do those, you can do that. Or you can kind of take the really slow approach that I've done, which is do a few here and there, do lots of side missions, do lots of assignments, waste a bunch of time in the room of requirements, or just spend a bunch of time roaming the vast world of Hogwarts. However your playstyle is, this game can probably contour to the playstyle and approach you want to take to this game. Let's talk about progression. So there are quite a few different ways to progress in Hogwarts Legacy. The biggest one's going to be your main story missions, but there are 3 different types of missions. You have the main story missions, you have assignments, which your professors grant you with to train and learn new charms and skills. Side quests is mostly going to be from students that you encounter in the overworld and from other people outside of Hogwarts. And then aside from missions, you actually have quite a bit of progression when it comes to challenges. Challenges are broken up into 5 different categories as well. There are combat, quests, exploration, field guide pages, and room of requirements challenges, which all provide you with some sort of reward as the challenges are completed. The field guide pages, for instance, that usually provide you with some sort of gear in your inventory. So between quests and side missions, this game can keep you pretty busy as far as the progression goes. And as I mentioned, this doesn't even really encompass the random missions or random puzzles that you'll find, within Hogwarts, out in the overworld, that are just kind of random, and when you do complete them, you get some kind of, loot reward. Or if it's like a Merlin Trials, when you complete those, it's a challenge that'll get you an extra gear slot potentially for inventory. So there is quite a bit to complete when it comes to the game overall. So as far as the storyline goes, not to dive deep into it at all, but just to give you a little bit of context and background if you don't already know. So this doesn't actually include the lore of the books and the movies of Harry Potter as we know. This is essentially, you are a 5th year student that is pre that Harry Potter time period. So you're a student that has come into Hogwarts late, and with the assignment missions, that's kind of your way of catching up and learning these skills as you go. And the other big piece of the story is essentially you are a witch or a wizard that can actually see and have possession of powers of ancient magic. And that kind of goes throughout the story. So I will leave it at that to keep it nice and spoiler free for those who haven't played it yet. There is so much to talk about when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy. I think lastly, we'll touch on the combat aspect of the game, which is obviously a very big part of it. The combat is a lot of fun. It doesn't feel super repetitive just because of how you can customize your spell charms and the different sets you use in battle. I have more of a fire type build when it comes to my spell charm sets. It contains Confringo, Incendio, which is super effective against enemies like spiders and zombies that you may encounter. And that's another thing too, you can kind of cater the spells towards the enemies you're going to be facing. And this is all stuff that can be conveniently changed on the fly. And you can even have up to 4 types of spell charm sets per se. And basically you can unlock these through talents, which is another aspect of the game that kind of enhances current spells and other aspects of the game that you have, which is a whole nother conversation in itself. But overall, I gotta say the combat's a lot of fun. It doesn't get stale just because you can really change up the ways that you battle when it comes to different spells and spell sets, and it is extremely satisfying when it comes to the overall visual, sound cues, and different types of effects when battling enemies. So I think that's going to wrap up my review of Hogwarts Legacy and my experience with it, and this is my experience going off of a slower playthrough, and this is with me having about 24 hours of gameplay. Overall, I gotta say this game is fantastic. I haven't necessarily been one of the people that has kind of followed its development path, years back as it's been in production. I've kind of just seen more trailers of it recently before launching and, kind of thinking it might be something that I'll be interested in. I didn't have all of my stock in it and really look forward to this game coming out, but it's been an extremely pleasant surprise. And I think the best way I can describe it is just like I said earlier in the video, it is a extremely fresh breath of air when it comes to gaming in kind of this modern age that we're in now, where Hogwarts Legacy is just an extremely solid content-filled game that can provide you with a bunch of hours of playtime and enjoyment without feeling like the game's been rushed. It doesn't feel like there's much content, and obviously filled with microtransactions like most other games we see today. I think the only cons I can really say about the game, and I personally, as honest as my review can be, I really don't have many with this game. They've just thought of so many small details to make the game a lot better, and it's kind of been attention to detail across the board. But I think if there was any, I would just say, there can be some visual bugs here and there just because it is such a large open world, but those are probably all getting ironed out through patches. And the only other thing I can say is I've heard from people saying that they've done interviews with the developers, maybe of like Portkey Games or the studio, and they don't really have any plans for future DLC or anything else with the game. So that might be a little bit of a disappointment to me, just with how good this game's been so far. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, make sure to drop a like on it. And if you want to see some more gaming videos, be sure to subscribe. I might be doing some more Hogwarts Legacy videos. I haven't done a whole lot with this channel. This is just kind of my gaming channel off of my main tech channel, which I also haven't uploaded to a whole lot lately. But there might be some future videos on Hogwarts Legacy on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.